What's going on, YouTube? This is Jim Afanis, and today I want to talk with you guys about the Xbox Games with Gold for November 2015. Now, the first game that we got it yesterday on November 1st, was Pneuma, Breath of Life. Now, the best way I could describe this game is it's like Myst with a lot of puzzle elements, and what I really liked about it was that the puzzles were not so black and white. And by that I mean a lot of the navigation that had to happen in order for you to solve each puzzle was really kind of up to you to first figure out what they were asking you to do and then asking you, obviously, to execute it. So almost the entire game, minus using the X button to interact occasionally with like a lever or a button, the rest of the game is almost entirely using the right thumbstick to aim your view, obviously, like any other first person shooter you've ever played, looking at things in a different way, maybe looking at something left to right or looking at it down to up or spinning in a circle, that sort of thing. That's where a lot of the mechanics in this game really are set in, and it does add some interesting elements. So once you figure out what you need to do, and I'm going to be as spoiler free as possible in this because I think these kind of games are best for self-discovery. Once you set up the puzzle the way you want to, for example, one of the rooms very early on, and this isn't giving anything away, the narrator talks about it, and I'll get to him in a minute. You have to look at a bridge, and as you look at the bridge, it actually shifts the way you look at it. So if you're looking at it and you lift your head up, the right stick up, the bridge will actually lift up, and if you look down, it actually comes down. What makes it interesting is once you've set the piece you want to be and to move on to the next room, as you're walking up the stairs to walk towards the bridge and you look at it, it shifts again. So I don't know if that was an intended consequence or not, but you're going to be doing a lot of moonwalking in this game, and you're going to be doing a lot of moonwalking either looking straight up in the air or straight down at your invisible feet. There's no feet in this game. You're there, but you don't actually see your feet, a la Halo 5. You're going to be doing a lot of that because you don't want to mess up the room the way you have it set up. And it's kind of frustrating in a sense because it's this beautiful environment. It's a great ambiance. It reminds me of like something from like Greek or Roman days. It's a lot of marble columns and a lot of artwork and everything that is really breathtaking to take in my opinion. I think it looks great on the Xbox One. I'm sure it looks amazing on PC as well. But you don't get to really enjoy it so much because you're always like walking around like this because you don't want to mess up what you just did. So whether that's an intended consequence or not, I guess that's half the challenge, is not only setting up the room but actually navigating through it to go into the next puzzle room. So it is a lot of fun. Unfortunately, it's extremely short. I beat the game in a little under 2 hours. And I didn't get all. There's some secret achievements. I looked later on. There's like hidden items in the world and that sort of thing. I didn't do any of that. I just kind of stuck to the main story, I guess. And there is a very loose story that is involved. The narrator is basically believes he's God, and you play as a character, and the narrator talks to you about. He realizes that he is everything and he created the world, and why did he create the world. And it really tries to go like meta, like really off in the deep end, and like, what is a game? Are we the game? Is life art? Is art life? It really does this kind of pseudo mind meld tomfoolery, I guess, for lack of a better word. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. For me, it doesn't work. I should say that. The narrator is extremely annoying, and he talks a lot over. He rambles. He really does ramble. I didn't sense a real sense of progression in the narrator's understanding of what's going on in the world, and that does play into the story. Even only at the very end of the game, when it's very clear what is actually happening, is happening. It's not really a revealing, like, shocking moment because I didn't understand really what was happening until the end. I'm like, oh, that's what's going on. And that's kind of the gist of the game. You know, you're exploring, but you don't really understand why, and you're solving puzzles for rooms that really don't make sense. And you're like, hey, when I do this, this happens. Let me see if I can make them all the same color, or let me see if I could make this beam of light more bright by looking at this certain object. You don't know why you're doing it, but it just kind of, naturally progresses. And I feel like the story emulates that a little bit, and that's okay. I mean, I have nothing against that. And had it just been a room of puzzles, would it have been exciting? Probably not. So I guess in that sense, some sort of story or narration does help a little bit. But I gotta admit, towards the end, the narrator was just rambling, and he wouldn't stop talking, and it was like, shut up. There's this really pretty music playing, and one of the big cool things that I really enjoyed about this game is they use music to kind of guide you in the right direction, and sound effects, and the music amplifies when you're kind of on the right path. So when this guy's rambling on and on about how he wants to make a lemonade, or how he's the center of the world, and why is he doing this, and is he really happy, and can he create happiness, and if he can, does it really mean he's happy? It's just nonsense. And I'm like, dude, you gotta just shut up. No one cares. So you do beat it. It's extremely short, unfortunately. I think that a lot of what I'm starting to see with the Xbox One games with gold, they're really, really deep indies, and I would consider this one of the deepest indies you could get into. Relatively unknown game with mediocre reviews on Metacritic from the research that I've done, but I did enjoy it. I played it, I got my fill, and I'm already done. Now I have Gears, and I have Halo, and I got Forza, and I just beat Tomb Raider, so I'm not too worried about it. But if you're looking for a really deep, engrossing, enriching game that's just you're gonna sink some time into, this is not it. This is gonna be one of those games that you either love or hate immediately. And if you love it, you'll most likely beat it in a sitting or two at the most. And if you hate it, you'll be out in seconds. This isn't one of those games where you're just like, oh, I'm just going to play like a round or two and leave. Because it is, once you get going and the rooms start getting more complicated, you're going to want to stick through it, at least for that chapter, because the themes do progress. Whether it's looking at a certain object for a certain amount of time, or whether it's manipulating levers to change platforms. Once you get going, the levels start getting more and more complex, where by the end you're doing multiple things at once, and you're really you get in that mode. I mean, obviously there's videos online where you can cheat, and there's walkthroughs and that sort of thing that'll walk you through it. But this kind of game to me is very rewarding if you could do it on your own, because it's something unlike really I've played in a very long time in terms of true puzzle games that was captivating. And using the look mechanic primarily is a really nice feature. One of the downsides with it, though, is the Xbox One, just even though it looks pretty in still frame and it's beautiful when you're walking slow, the right analog stick is very jittery in this game, and that really hinders the performance of what you need to do. So just bumping the right analog stick as light as possible and letting go. Your camera is very defined jerks. It's not smooth. I don't think it's the limitation of the Xbox One. I mean, the hardware on that thing is pretty beefy, and there's really nothing in this game that really was like, oh my god, like we're rendering like 1080p or like 4K resolution or anything like that. But the analog stick is really jumpy, and unfortunately, your strafing is not. Your strafing is extremely smooth. So a lot of times if you're looking and you only want to look at a very specific piece of something, and you'll have to do that in this game quite a bit, you really have to kind of rely on your strafing and your block looking, as opposed to a more fluid looking and strafing system. I know that sounds like a minor nitpick, but when the primary focus and drive of your puzzle solving is looking or not looking at things and looking at them in a very specific way, it does kind of hinder the experience. And I don't know why this game wasn't more optimized for that, because I would think the game experience would be much richer. I could tell you that I did beat, like I said, about 2 hours. I probably could have beat it in an hour and a half on PC with my mouse and my keyboard had I been given that option, only because there were times that I was really fighting the controls a lot more than I really should have. And that was unfortunate, because the Xbox One controller, I think, really could have shined here. And the other thing, there wasn't really a whole lot of vibration, and I think that's something they missed out on. I think some of the puzzles, if they had vibrating elements to them, I think it would have maybe been a really nice cue on top of the audio and the tones and stuff you hear. But all in all, I can't complain about it too much. I mean, it was an indie game. I think it's going for sale right now on Steam for, I don't know, like $3 or something, maybe more. I don't know. But if you haven't had a chance to check it out, I highly recommend it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Tomorrow, I will be talking about my favoriteest game in the whole United States. But for today, I'm going to stop it here. As always, I want to thank you guys for watching. Please do me a favor, comment, rate, subscribe. Real briefly before I go, I want to say thank you all. I just hit 40,000 channel views, which obviously I've probably put out a trillion videos, and I've been doing this for probably a year now, maybe more, I don't know. But it's a cool milestone for me, considering most of my videos only get 20 to 30 hits. My E3 videos, obviously, where I saw most of my success, and a couple PlayStation or PC tutorials I did. I got some views there, but 40,000 is pretty cool. It's a nice round number. So thank you guys to everybody who's been watching my channel and supporting me as I continue to grow and add new content for y'all. And that's all I have. Until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.